Hi, this is Jackie Tantillo, and this is Should Have Listened to My Mother. My guest is the founder and president of the Shaffer Security Group. He's a retired FBI agent. He's an authority on active shooter events, and he's written a book called Stay Safe: Security Secrets for Today's Dangerous World. That said, let's find out what he has to say about his mom. Hello, Gregory Shaffer.
Hi, Jackie.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. Do you prefer Gregory or Greg?
Greg, please.
Thank you so much for jumping in on this conversation. Based
Sure,
on
no
your
problem.
background, it's going to be really interesting for people to get the person behind all this training and experience. So I'm really glad that you're interested in joining the team. Really cool.
Now, I love the title of your podcast, and my mom in my eyes, complete saint and most amazing mother on the face of the earth. So if I can talk to her about her a little bit, I'd be happy to do that.
So, well, let's start off with her name.
Penny Shaffer.
And how did you refer to her, your term of endearment, or when you wanted some help?
I call her mom.
Mm.
Call her mom.
And you have siblings?
Yes, she had 5 sons.
Wow.
One died at a very early age, so she raised 4 boys.
Wow.
A Secret Service agent, an FBI agent, a Navy officer, and an entrepreneur. So.
She must be so proud of her boys.
She was certainly proud. We used to. I'm the smallest of my brothers, and I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. And we used to go shopping with her like during Christmas time, and we'd surround her, and then we'd play like Secret Service because again, one of her sons was a Secret Service agent. So we like to diamond formation around her, and we put earpieces in, and we walk around the mall like we got protection for her. She's the biggest kick out of that. And she met President Clinton, she met President Bush, because my brother got her into the White House a couple times. So she was always she had a wonderful life. She really did.
Oh, that's pretty great. And so how come all of you got into these lines of work?
I don't know. My dad, had kids at a very early age. He got married at 19 and had my older brother when he was 20. Although he was of the Vietnam era, because he had kids, he was ineligible to be drafted. So he missed Vietnam, and but still just instilled a high sense of patriotism and love for country.
That's pretty great. And your parents and your mom is younger than your dad, or the same age? So they're both very young.
They were 3 days apart.
Where did you grow up?
Well, my dad was an IBMer. So, as they say in the IBM world, I've been moved. I was born in West Virginia, and I lived in like 13 states and 2 foreign countries after that. So we moved about every 2 years on average.
And did your parents grow up together, or they met as adults or young teens?
They met at 16 years old at a church dance, and they got married when they were 19.
Oh my gosh, this is like the storybook.
It really is, and they're just wonderful people. All my friends and my brother's friends all loved them, and everybody always came to our house to hang around because my parents were so wonderful and loving and caring. And Mom died from Alzheimer's at a very early age, but that was great. Her mother, my grandmother, ended up dying on my birthday the year after my mom died. So my mom died on Thanksgiving Day in 2010. Her mother, my grandmother, died on my birthday, which was in February of 2011. And she suffered from Alzheimer's for 12, 15 years and just bankrupt, my grandfather and the family.
Emotionally and financially bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. My mom went from 0 to 100 in about 7 to 8 months. We went all the boys flew to Tampa, Florida, where my parents were living at the time, in March of 2010, and it was a 55th wedding anniversary. And my mom got dressed, she did her hair, did her makeup. Now, we knew she had Alzheimer's, and she had already been diagnosed, because she'd tell the same story 2 or 3 times but she was able to hold a conversation. She was able to care for herself. She knew all her sons and all her daughter-in-laws and stuff like that. But it was still odd. If you talked to her for more than 5 or 10 minutes, you'd realize that something's off. And that was in March. By November, she was a complete vegetable, incoherent, didn't know anybody, lost 35, 40 pounds, shriveled up to nothing, and then died, again, 9 months. So March to November, 9 months. Died 9 months later, which is the greatest blessing in the world because we all saw my grandmother, who was still alive, and she had suffered for 15 years. And we're trying to put our finances together, say, how are we going to do this? And there was really no answer. And the good Lord decided to take her quickly. And again, this is in Florida. We see a lot of Alzheimer's patients, of course. And the doctors say it was the fastest progressing Alzheimer's you've ever seen. Again, she went from taking care of herself in March to being a complete, just incoherent, skinny waif of a woman who didn't even look like a woman anymore. She looked like just a shriveled up old person. She was a beautiful woman.
She wasn't your mom, well, she was, but spiritually, if you believe she was already on a different plane. What age, I'm curious, did your grandmother live to?
91.
Oh, wow. But the last 15 years were tough, horrible, if you want to say.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about the happier times with your mom. How's that?
Sure.
What was she? Did she have a sense of humor? Was she the serious one? Can you tell me a little bit about your mom?
She loved to dance. She loved music. She was a ballroom dancer. She competed in the Southeast with her dancing partner, and she grew up dancing. She was took ballet as a kid. She was a cheerleader back in the 50s. Just loved music, loved Elvis Presley, loved to dance, and she would dance while she was doing housework. We went vacuuming, doing the windows and stuff like that. She'd always be shaking her booty and stuff. And she actually used to teach the neighborhood girls how to dance. She actually used to get paid for it, so they'd give her $5 for whatever at a session, and she made a little bit of money on the side by teaching local girls how to dance. Now, the local girl needed a dance partner, so who should choose a dance partner? Her son.
Her 4 sons.
We hated it. Oh my God, we hated it. But everything what comes around, goes on, comes around. By the time we're in our 20s and going to all our friends' weddings, and we're like the only men that can dance, and of course all the bridesmaids are like, "Oh my God, you can dance!" So, I was like, "Thanks, Mom."
Oh my gosh, I bet.
And then again, and she had all these gowns and stuff because she used to compete, and she used to go around on the weekends compete in different ballroom dancing competitions. And she had a great sense of humor. Always young at heart. She always looked 20 years younger than she really was. When she was 50, she looked like she was 30. She's an incredible woman. Now, again, she raised 4 boys. We all played sports, and I don't think she ever missed a game. And if you play sports, you can always hear your parents cheer for you, no matter how big the crowd. I mean, it could be, 10,000 people for a high school game, and let's go, Greggy! She also called me Greggy. So, and I would hear her, let's go, Greggy. Every time she'd yell it, I'd hear it. 10,000 other fans screaming out loud, and I hear my mom's voice.
Did you cringe or did you smile? Because when I would cheer for my sons, they'd be like, "We heard you."
Nah, I would smile. Smile.
Good. What sport?
I played mostly football, but in high school I played baseball and basketball, but I went on and played college ball and football.
She's great. I love her.
Everybody did. She really did. It's called Penny Pooh, or Smilin Penny. That was kind of her nickname, Smilin Penny or Penny Pooh. She was she just loved life. She loved my father, her husband, loved her sons, and just enjoyed life. And thankfully she passed that trait along to her 4 boys. I think all 4 of us have a lot of mom in us.
Can you give me an example of what similar personality traits you share with your mom?
Well, moving around as often as we did, it really drew the family closer. My older brother's only 13 months older than I am. What we call Irish twins. And then my next younger brother's 3 years younger than me, and then there's one 4 years younger than him. So there's 4 boys in 8 years. Because we moved around so much, it's difficult to make friends and stuff like that. But my older brother and I we were only 1 year apart and played sports, so we were fortunate that we were able to be friends with one another. And then when we got on the sports team, you can make friends, pretty instantaneously as well, even when you're a pretty good athlete. So that helped out. But it just drew the family closer. I mean, for the first couple of months in a new place, you're playing board games at the kitchen table instead of doing things that kids do because you still had to make friends. So, I think, and my dad was the same way. My dad is the oldest of 9 kids, and we still have family reunions every 3 years where over 80 Schaffers show up. So the love of family was a big part of both the Shaffer family, my dad's side, and the Biaggi family, my mom's side. So the love of family and just, family matters and family is most important. That and, it's probably one of the biggest characteristics that I think they passed along to the 4 boys.
What is your mom's maiden name? Is she Italian? Biaggi?
Biaggi, yeah. In fact, her parents, my grandparents, are first-generation Americans. My grandfather's name was Pietro Giovanni Biaggi Jr.
Yay! It's Italian. I'm Italian.
It's about as Italian as you can get, absolutely.
And so are you the second youngest of the 4? Or the 5, I should say?
Second oldest, yes.
Second oldest, okay. And did you know the first son that your mom and dad lost? The first child?
No, I was 3 years old when they had Timothy, and Timothy lived about 6 months and died, so I really didn't remember him at all.
Okay. How did that loss have a lasting effect on your mom? Did she ever let you see that?
She did it pretty well. It's interesting, when she got Alzheimer's, it was getting worse, she talked about him all the time. And then would put a picture of him on her bathroom mirror and carry a picture with her of Timothy all the time. And she never, ever did that before she was sick. So, I guess repressed memory, repressed hurt that came out when she got sick.
Yeah, and she was getting closer to seeing him, maybe, depending on what your beliefs are.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Were you guys competitive? Like, were you all, especially because you're in similar lines of work-ish? I guess there's a clear line, divisive line in your mind, but you're all government work.
Well, yeah, everything's a competition. Everything's a race. So.
Oh, I can only imagine. Even eating.
Pretty much.
Let alone sports. Having fun.
Yeah, everything's a competition. In fact, my brother turns 60 tomorrow, and we're offline. He lives in Atlanta, so he's having a big party. His wife put together a 60th birthday party for him, so we're offline in tomorrow.
Is it a surprise?
Celebration with him.
A surprise?
Yeah, he knows about it. No, he knows.
Okay.
Yeah, she couldn't keep it a surprise because she's decorating the house in a beach theme, Jimmy Buffett.
Wow, sounds like fun.
Yeah, it should be.
Now, your mama, was she a worrier, especially based on the line of work that all of you guys were in?
She hit it well. I was in the Coast Guard before I was in the FBI, and I used to go at sea for about 2 months at a time. And she would write me a letter about 3 times a week. And this is long before email. This is long before, we have satellite phones, but those are only used for emergency because it was like, $20 a minute. There's no cell phones at the time. This is in the mid-'80s. But they had mail calls, just like they had back in the old days. So every time my ship would pull in the port, and we did mostly Caribbean operations, we're doing anti-drug and Haitian migration interdiction operation type of stuff. Every time there was mail call, I would always have 8 to 10 letters from my mom, and she would just handwrite letters, what she did in the day, everything dry cleaning, the ironing, the cooking fried chicken for my dad, and I still have all those letters today. They're all bound in rubber bands in my office.
Oh, it's the best. I saved my mom's letters too.
Yeah. So she did worry about it, particularly when I was at sea, and then I went to Iraq twice and Afghanistan once when she was still alive. She was very worried then, but she's really good. She's a very emotional woman. She loved to show happiness love. So she never showed fear or doubt. All the negative feelings, she was very good at just keeping it to herself. But the joyous feelings, she was very, very happy to share with everybody else. I guess it's what they call her Smilin Penny. So, I always knew she was fearful. And then when I was on the HRT and I was doing things that she knew, we call it tip of the spear. When I went to Iraq, it wasn't as a backseat logistics kind of guy. It was getting in gunfights every night.
And she knew that. She knew that.
Yeah. At that time we had emails too, so that, by that time we had emails as well, so I sent her emails every day. And I'm going to go out tonight. I was going to be careful, Mom, and then get back at 3 in the morning and send her an email saying, I'm back, everything's good, everything's great, don't you worry, love you much, talk to you later. So.
Oh my God, just like I do with my boys in college now. You're halfway around the world. Do you have children of your own?
Yes, I got 3 daughters and 2 grandchildren.
So how much of your mom's influence do you use when you're talking to your kids? Raising your children.
I mean, they're all, the grandkids don't remember her. Well, my granddaughter never met her, but my grandson, who's 11, he would remember her. But my 3 grown daughters, they don't remember her. And, she, Grandma and Grandpa took them one at a time, took them to Disney World when they were all about 6 or 7 or 8 years old. So they had very fond memories. Of course, with me being Coast Guard and being in the FBI, we moved around a lot as well. So once I was an adult and married and started having kids, I never lived in the same city as my parents. So it would always have to be during holidays and special occasions I would see them.
So did your family travel did you live overseas for months or years at a time with the FBI? Or?
Yes.
So they were with you, or no?
So I went to high school in Paris, France. So my dad got transferred to Paris when I was 14 years old. I spent 14, 17 in Paris, France. And we just traveled all over Europe and North Africa at the time. And my mom and dad would take trips by themselves. We would take family trips. I remember we moved there, I think, it was in December. And before school started, after we moved there, before our furniture even arrived, we took a 2-week trip to Tunisia and spent our first Christmas away from the United States in Tunis, Tunisia, taking camel rides, and again, this was before Middle East terrorists and stuff like that, and just had a grand old time seeing a part of the world that we never envisioned in our lives ever seen.
Oh my gosh, this is the best.
Oh yeah, and then in that February, the high school had a ski trip to Switzerland. So my older brother and I went on a ski trip to Switzerland. So within the first 2 months of living in Europe, we did 2 weeks in Tunis, Tunisia, and a week in Switzerland. That was the first 2 months there. So, my mom and dad, they went to Israel, they went to Turkey, they went to Egypt and saw the Grand Pyramids, and this is just trips by themselves. And then for family trips, we went skiing every year with the family. We did Scotland, went to the castles of Scotland and Ireland one year, and of course we always come back to the States every summer. And then before we come to the States, my dad we'd spend a week somewhere else. I began to take very good care of my dad and my mom, I had really good things to say to IBM. But we stayed like a week in Bermuda before we go to the States to see the grandparents. So we spent a week in the Canary Islands before we would go to the States to see the grandparents and stuff like that. So,
wow, pretty great. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've been around the world already in a couple of minutes. It's pretty great. What would happen when you wanted to bring a girlfriend home or a friend home who was a girl?
They would make her feel so welcome, and they really would. Even my ex-girlfriends, I'm told, the day my mom died, were friends with my mom's, a couple of them. So, a couple came to the funeral from both my mom and my dad, ex-girlfriends. So, like I said, everybody loved them. My friends all loved them. Again, we had teammates in 3 different sports in high school, and they were just, they were the team's greatest fans, and it'd be my mom who would, bring sandwiches or drinks for everybody, after the game or something like that. She was just, that was the kind of person she was. So, and I don't know what else to say.
Oh my
they're just
goodness.
likable. They were likable people. They were just, I tell everybody, in my book, in my preface of my book, I talk about my family a lot, and I said it was truly a Leave It to Beaver type, upbringing. There was no fighting. There was no arguing. There was just a lot of love. It really was.
Well, that's pretty great. I mean, it just shows in your energy. Unfortunately, your line of work isn't always so bright and sunny, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I hear stories that, even my wife's story about her growing up. It's just, to me it seems so normal. And, now as an adult, I realize how rare it is to have parents like that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? I'm very fortunate. I'm the youngest of 7, and I know my listeners are sick of hearing me talking about it, but our childhood was magical. We were very, very lucky. And family was number one,
Yep.
Family was number one. All right, so was your mom a cook?
My wife and I talk about this all the time. It's like, how does she cook for 5 men? My father and 4 boys. And I remember her, standing up the entire dinner time, and she just over the stove, Again, I haven't had fried chicken in probably 25, 30 years. But growing up, man, we had a lot of fried chicken. And she would just be, she had these 2 big skillets, and she'd be just frying up chicken, and we eat it as fast as she could cook it.
Right, you'd probably eat a whole chicken each.
I know. And this is 4, this is 18, 17, 15,
and athletes.
Yeah, exactly. Coming back from practice and starving, you eat her own leg. She'd be there cooking. She made world famous pancakes. The joke was, kids throughout Europe know about Penny Shaker's pancakes because when we lived in Paris, we played sports there, and how it worked over there for sports is that you played other American schools in other countries. So we went to the American School of Paris, and we competed against the American School of London, the American School of Rome, the American School of Barcelona, American School of The Hague, so on and so forth. So we would travel pretty much every weekend to a different country to compete in sports, or if it was a home game, those other teams would come to our places to play. And when it was a home game, every player would house a player from the other team. So being that my brother and I played sports together, we always housed 2 other players from the other team, which really helped in the competitive nature because you became friends with them, and then you competed against them because that was really nice. But, they try to make sure you don't have the same people staying with you every time. So my mom would make these just amazing from-scratch buttermilk pancakes. And I swear we would eat 40 of those a piece if she let us. And so she would always pick those the morning before the games because we played games on Saturday and usually a game on Sunday as well. And so all the kids throughout Europe from the other American schools all knew about Penny Shaker's pancakes, and they would all be pleading for their coaches, "Put me with the Schaffers, put me with the Schaffers."
Everyone's competing to go to stay at your house.
Yeah, everyone was at our house because, of course, the host family also has to pack lunches for you. So my mom would pack a lunch, knowing she had 4 boys, she knew how boys ate. So she'd pack a lunch, it would just be, like a suitcase-sized lunch that the other players would get. So everybody wanted to stay with us because mom and dad took such good care of them and fed them so well. She made great lasagna. She made great meatballs, and great fried chicken, great pancakes. And then she's a baker. She loved to bake cookies. Her chocolate chip cookies I still miss every day. Used to always have fresh baked cookies at least once a month. She always put them out there, and she made like 60 dozen at a time with 4 boys around.
60 dozen, I bet. What were holidays like? You were all over the world, but were they traditional holidays like we envision here in the U.S., or you had the international flavor as well?
They're pretty traditional American standards, but definitely incorporated a lot of things that she brought back from overseas. When I was in college, they moved to Tokyo. My mom and dad loved Tokyo. And when they went there, they were empty nesters. So all the other kids were already at school. So I guess it was after college we moved there because my younger brother just started college. So they went to Tokyo together and just living the high life. Again, IBM took great care of them, put them in a beautiful penthouse apartment. They were there for 3 years and treated like royalty. And she loved the Japanese culture. And she, her house, when the day that she died, her house always had a lot of Japanese pieces, whether it's porcelain or crystal or a little Japanese piece here or there. But you always see a little Oriental flavor in the decorating of her house. And then her Christmas tree, when my dad died and we went through all the stuff, one of the most fun things we did was to go through all her Christmas ornaments. Because when Christmas came, it looked like Santa Claus threw up in the house. I mean, it was just Christmas in every room. And so the 4 boys going through, oh, you remember this, remember that? So we divided up all the Christmas stuff and just all the ornaments she collected from all across Europe and all across the Far East, because we lived in Tokyo, of course, we did a lot of traveling. And she just loved Christmas ornaments. So no matter where she traveled, she'd buy a Christmas ornament. And she ended up having 3 Christmas trees in her house because of all the ornaments. She put like a Christmas tree, smaller one in the kitchen, one big one in the dining room, and another big one in the living room, just to accommodate all the ornaments she collected over the years.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel like I'm watching a movie. The colors are so vivid. And the flavors, my gosh, I just got starving. Talking about all that food. Oh, my goodness gracious. So out of all the boys, all the sons, who was the prodigal son?
You're a mother, you definitely, and I'm a father, and we definitely have a different relationship with our different kids. The joke is I was her favorite. So I'm gonna put that out for your audience. I was her favorite. I'm very skinned. I have reddish blonde hair, strawberry blonde hair. I got blue eyes. My 3 other brothers are Italian, dark hair, dark skin, dark eyes. They tan at the mention of the word sun. And I'm just opposite. I hear the word sun and I sunburn. So I got all the Irish blood in the family from my dad's side, and my other 3 brothers got all the Italian blood. So I was definitely the milkman's child when you compare the 4 of us together.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that may have swayed her a little bit in me being her favorite.
Oh my gosh! Listen to you. I can only imagine what your brothers would say to that.
Oh no, they would freely admit it. No, they totally admit it. Oh, you're my favorite. We all know that.
Oh my gosh! So, what's an example of how she expressed her love for you?
Very, both my mom and dad were very affectionate people. I mean, just hugs and kisses, and just sitting down and holding hands and talking. I'm glad it's on Zoom right now. I can love those here.
It's okay. She's magical. She really is amazing, and you seem to have captured her love of life. And
I guess kitchen table and talk to her most intimate. A cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, pretty great, huh? It's amazing. The simplest little thing she could be right next to you right now, right? Bring her spirit back so vividly.
Exactly.
Are you who you are today because of or in spite of your mom?
Definitely the person I am today because of my mother, and I'm proud of it. Very proud of it. She was an amazing woman. So I miss her every day. That's for sure.
Well, she's right by your side. So make sure you give her a hug and a squeeze and a big smile so she knows that you're doing okay.
She knows.
Because you're her favorite.
But yeah, we when I visit, she's always the first one out of bed, and I hear her making coffee or smell the coffee. I get up and we'd have a little conversations there, and before the kids got up, or when I was married with kids and stuff like that. So she was a early riser, and we went to bed by about 10 o'clock every night, like clockwork, and just never lost that little life. So in her last days, she even had glimpses of the old her, and she had a beautiful smile on her face. It's like nothing's happened. So.
Wow. It takes a lot to keep that smile on, right? That smile on your face.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you might be hurting inside or confused. takes courage and the strength, and I admire that quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, just, with my background, she raised 4 boys virtually by herself. I mean, I don't want to cut my dad out of the equation, but Dad was an IBM. He's a businessman. He worked, from 8 to 6. And he, again, always came to games, stuff like that, but during the workday, it was all her. She had no help. She didn't have a nanny. She didn't have a house cleaner. She raised 4 boys on her own, and all 4 boys are, good, law-abiding, patriotic Americans, who all serve their country but one, and he's going fantastic as an entrepreneur, and we're all married and have great families now because of my parents, and it's a tribute to Penny Shaffer. She did an amazing job. I just can't imagine doing that today. Wow, I know how expensive it is for 3 girls. I can't imagine 4 boys, and all 4 are college educated. All 4 again have great lives independent from one another, and again, it's truly a tribute to my mom. But she pretty much did it.
And she did it dancing. How wonderful!
And she did dancing. That's right.
Mm-hmm. You can see her now.
I do remember her, vacuuming the floor and shaking her booty and dancing. Time she's vacuuming. Of course, we were embarrassed at the time, but look back at it, it's one of the funniest things in the world.
Yeah, that's okay. I think it's kind of the parents' job is to embarrass their kids sometimes, just because kids don't understand, right? I'm sure you've done the same with your daughters. Greg Shaffer's book is entitled Stay Safe, Security Secrets for Today's Dangerous World. Thanks for joining me, Greg.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on the show.
Should Have Listened to My Mother is my weekly podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, or at Jackie@shouldhavelistenedtomymother.com. See you next week.